In today's video, we're going to take a look at IWM, and one of the things that I did yesterday was put this setup out on the end of day update in IWM, okay? And this cluster was definitely bigger than the cluster that I had in the S&P and the cluster that I had in NASDAQ. They did have key support decisions that we bounced off of, but this one was a bit unusual because I had about 12 price relationships that included symmetry. All the red lines are symmetrical projections of, prior declines from actually this chart going back quite a ways. Even over here we have some of those swings that are similar, and then that just happened to overlap, let's see, an extension of one of the smaller swings, another extension, I believe, of this low to high, and yet another extension of another swing here. I believe it was this low to this high. Bottom line, when we have a cluster of 12 price relationships, that does not mean that we're definitely going to hold the zone, but it does mean that it's a very important support decision. Okay, so if it does hold, then it's worth looking at it for a trade. So in this case, yeah, my subscribers definitely got this first, but the party's not over if this is a more important low. So let's take a look at what we would need to clear if we are going to continue to rally from here. We would need to see a rally beyond the symmetry of this prior swing. So basically we have a hurdle that comes in or stands out between 167.30 to 167.87, but if we can push through that, then your typical target for a move off of this area is the 1272 extension or 171.45. Okay, so initial risk was right against or right underneath this low, or for those of you who give it more room, you'd say underneath the low end of the cluster. Bottom line, I would look at pullbacks to this last low, for a secondary entry if you're not already in this one. And what else do we have? I did want to show you an example of a trigger, and this trigger example is just going to show how you might start with a setup on a daily chart and use a shorter time frame chart to trigger an entry. So this is a 5-minute chart in IWM. Here is where we tested the high end of the zone of support here. And then as far as the trigger, you want to see the moving average crossover, which we saw over here. And then you also want to see it take out a prior swing high, basically something that that shows you a shift in pattern. And sometimes that's where people get a little bit stuck, because they'll say, well, is this a swing high? Can that be used? Is this a swing high? Can that be used? Or is it supposed to be this one? Okay, if you're having troubles with it, just ignore it and just look for the moving average crossover instead. Okay, so typically that's going to be good enough. As far as the 834 EMA crossover, we got that. I'm not sure what this was. I think this may have just been a bad tick in my data, but bottom line, I do think that we have potential to continue the rally at least into this resistance, and then possibly up into that 1272 target. But this is how you make money with this work. It's setup plus trigger equals trade entry, and then you manage it. There are definitely some links that I've posted on Twitter before that you should be able to find on my guidelines, and also the trading plans.